Hello, welcome to Capital Sensei. Today we're gonna dive deep into a book that, despite being over a century old, continues to spark debate and inspire action. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace. We'll break down its core principles, not as some mystical formula, but through the practical lens of an economist and investor. We'll explore the certain way of thinking and acting, the concepts of creation over competition, and how these 100-year-old ideas connect directly to modern financial strategy and behavioral economics. As we go through this, you'll likely have questions or see connections to your own life. That's fantastic. Whenever we can, we answer questions in the comments. So please, feel free to share your doubts, your insights, or even your own stories about building wealth. This interaction helps everyone learn and builds a community of people genuinely trying to understand how money and success really work. Let's start by setting the stage. This book was written in 1910. The world was a vastly different place. There was no internet, no global financial market at your fingertips, and economic theory was still in its relative youth. So when you read Wattles' words about a thinking stuff from which all things are made, it's easy to dismiss it as old-timey mysticism. But my job here is to act as a translator, to show you the powerful economic and psychological engine running underneath that seemingly archaic language. Wattles opens with a bold, almost jarring claim that you have a fundamental right to be rich. He even goes so far as to call it a duty. Now, in our modern culture, that can sound greedy or materialistic, but let's analyze it from an economic perspective. What does being rich actually mean? It means having sufficient resources to fully develop your potential. Think of it in terms of human capital: to learn, to grow, to be healthy, to travel, to provide for your family, and to contribute meaningfully to society. You need resources. Poverty, from this viewpoint, isn't a virtue. It's a profound limitation on human potential. It restricts access to education, to healthcare, to opportunities. When Wattles says you have a right to be rich, he's arguing that you have a right to a life of growth, expression, and contribution, rather than a life constrained by lack. It's not about hoarding wealth, but about having the means to live fully, which in turn benefits the entire economic ecosystem. A society of prosperous, developing individuals is a thriving society. Now we get to the core mechanism of the book, what Wattles calls the certain way of doing things. This method is built on a foundational idea he calls the original substance, or thinking stuff. He posits that there is a formless raw material of the universe from which everything is created, and that thoughts can make an impression on this substance to bring things into existence. This is where many people check out, thinking it's pure fantasy. But stick with me, because this is a brilliant metaphor for a very real economic principle. Think of this thinking stuff not as literal cosmic goo, but as the infinite sea of untapped potential in the market. It represents all the unsolved problems, all the unmet needs, all the services not yet rendered, and all the products not yet invented. It's the what if of the economy. When an entrepreneur has a vision for a new business, say a service that delivers healthy, pre-cooked meals for busy professionals, they are making an impression on this potential. They are seeing a form in the formless, a specific solution within a general problem space. This leads us to the first part of the certain way, the way you must think. Wattles is adamant that you must form a clear, precise, and detailed mental image of what you want to achieve. This isn't just idle daydreaming. From a modern neurological and psychological standpoint, this is an incredibly powerful goal-setting technique. When you hold a vivid and consistent vision in your mind, you are essentially programming your brain's reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS is the part of your brain that filters information. Have you ever decided you want to buy a specific model of car, and then suddenly you start seeing that exact car everywhere? That's your RAS at work. It's not that there are more of those cars, it's that your brain is now primed to notice them. A clear financial or business vision does the same thing. It primes you to notice opportunities, connect with the right people, and see resources that were invisible to you before. But the vision alone isn't enough. Wattles pairs it with a crucial emotional state: gratitude. He instructs you to feel a deep and constant sense of gratitude for the things you desire, as if you have already received them. Again, this might sound like a simple platitude, but it's a powerful tool against one of the biggest enemies of wealth creation: the scarcity mindset. A scarcity mindset is the belief that there's a limited pie and you have to fight for your tiny slice. This mindset leads to fear, anxiety, and poor short-term decision-making. You might hoard your money instead of investing it. Or you might be too afraid to take a calculated risk on a new venture. Gratitude is the direct antidote. It fosters an abundance mindset, the belief that there is plenty of opportunity and that value can be created. This mental shift makes you more optimistic, more resilient, and more open to seeing and seizing opportunities. Think of your vision as the destination you plug into your GPS. Gratitude is the positive expectation that keeps you driving forward with confidence, even when you encounter detours or traffic jams. It's the psychological fuel that prevents you from giving up when things get tough. It keeps your mind focused on the destination, not the obstacles. A cornerstone of Wattles' philosophy of thought is the idea of moving from a competitive mind to a creative mind. He argues that you do not get rich by taking things away from other people. You get rich by creating new value that did not exist before. This is perhaps the most important economic lesson in the entire book, and it directly maps onto modern business strategy. The competitive plane is what we now call a red ocean. It's a market saturated with rivals all fighting over the same customer base, usually by trying to offer a slightly lower price. This is a race to the bottom, where profit margins get thinner and thinner, and it's a brutal way to do business. Think of two corner stores on the same block, constantly undercutting each other's price on milk. Neither one is truly thriving. The creative plane is what we now call a blue ocean strategy. This involves creating a new, uncontested market space. You aren't fighting over existing demand. You are creating new demand. A classic example is Cirque du Soleil. They didn't try to create a better, cheaper traditional circus to compete with Ringling Brothers. They created a whole new category of entertainment, blending circus arts with theater, and targeted an adult audience willing to pay premium prices. They made the competition irrelevant. This principle applies at the individual level too. Don't just try to be slightly better than the person in the cubicle next to you. Think about what unique value you can create. What problem can you solve that no one else is addressing? How can you combine your unique skills to offer something new? Getting rich in the Wattles sense is about becoming a fountain of value, not a drain on a limited reservoir. So, you have your clear vision, your attitude of gratitude, and your focus on creation. That's the thinking, part of the certain way. But Wattles is very clear that this is only half the equation. The other half is acting in a certain way. And this is where the philosophy becomes intensely practical. You cannot just sit on your couch and visualize wealth into your bank account. The thought must be connected to action. The first principle of action is that you must act now. You must do all that you can do today. Procrastination is the absolute enemy of this process. Every day presents an opportunity to take a step, however small, towards your vision. The key here is not just being busy, but what Wattles calls efficient action. This means that every act performed today must be a successful act in itself. What does that mean exactly? It means focusing your efforts on tasks that produce the most results, a concept we now call the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. 20% of your actions will typically generate 80% of your results. Efficient action is about identifying that critical 20% and executing it with excellence, without getting bogged down in the trivial 80%. It's about working smart, not just hard. Think about it like building a brick wall. Each brick you lay today must be laid perfectly. You can't just throw a bunch of bricks and mortar in a pile and hope a wall appears. Each individual action, each day's work, must be done with focus and quality. This consistent, efficient action is what builds momentum. It's the real-world application of the principle of compound interest. Small, daily deposits of effective work compound over time into massive results. The next principle of action is perhaps one of the most transformative for anyone in a job or starting a business. Wattles states that you must more than fill your present place. This means you must consistently deliver more value than is expected of you in your current role. Now, some might interpret this as let your boss exploit you, but that's a surface-level reading. From an economic perspective, this is about systematically increasing your own human capital and market value. When you consistently over-deliver, you are not just doing a good job. You are demonstrating your capacity for greater responsibility. You are signaling to the market, whether that market is your current employer or potential clients, that you are a person of high value and capability. Imagine two software developers working at a company. One does exactly what is in their job description, competently and on time. The other does the same, but also proactively identifies bugs in other parts of the code, suggests improvements to the user interface, and mentors junior developers. Who's more likely to get the promotion, a significant raise, or be headhunted by a competitor? The answer is obvious. The second developer isn't just filling their place. They are growing beyond it, making themselves indispensable and creating the conditions for advancement. This concept of more than filling your present place is the engine of advancement. Wattles calls a person who does this an advancing man or advancing woman. They are on an upward trajectory because the value they create is undeniable. This creates a vacuum of opportunity around them. Their excellence pulls them forward. This isn't about working yourself to the bone for no reason. It's a strategic investment in your own future value. This leads directly to the final and perhaps most subtle principle of action. You must convey the impression of increase to everyone you deal with. This is a profound concept. It means that in every transaction, every conversation, and every interaction, you should leave the other person feeling that they have benefited from their engagement with you. You should be a source of growth and positivity for others. This is the absolute opposite of a zero-sum mentality. In a zero-sum game, for me to win, you must lose. Wattles argues that true wealth is created in positive sum interactions, where everyone walks away better off. In business, this is the essence of building a powerful brand and lasting customer relationships. When a customer buys your product or service, they should feel they received far more value than the money they paid. Let's use a simple example. Think of your favorite local restaurant. You pay, let's say, $20 for a meal. But what you receive is more than just the food. You get a pleasant atmosphere, friendly service from the staff who remember your name, a feeling of community, and a break from cooking. You leave feeling that you got a great deal. That restaurant has given you the impression of increase, and because of that, you not only return, but you tell your friends about it. This principle applies everywhere. As an employee, make your boss feel that they are getting incredible value from your salary. As a business owner, Make your clients feel that your fees are a brilliant investment. As a friend, be someone who uplifts and encourages others. By becoming a force for increase in the lives of others, you attract more opportunities, more trust, and more partnerships. People want to do business with people who make them feel successful and valued. It's a magnetic force. So let's tie all these threads together into a coherent, modern framework. What Wattles calls the thinking stuff is the latent potential in the economy. Your clear mental vision is your strategic business plan or your personal financial goal, made specific and measurable. The feeling of gratitude is the cultivation of an abundance mindset, a psychological tool to maintain resilience and spot opportunities. The imperative to create, not compete, is a direct call for a blue ocean strategy, for innovation and entrepreneurship that makes the competition irrelevant. The demand for efficient action now is the principle of productivity and the power of consistent compounded effort. The instruction to more than fill your present place is a strategy for investing in your own human capital to increase your market value. And finally, conveying the impression of increase is the art of creating win-win, positive-sum outcomes that build trust and reputation. Now, as an economist, I have to add a crucial reality check. This is not magic. Wattles himself emphasizes that thought must result in action. The vision in your mind is the blueprint, but you still have to pick up the tools and build the house. The world has economic cycles, market downturns, and systemic challenges that are very real. This book is not a tool to magically wish away those realities. Rather, it's a framework for maximizing your personal agency within that system. It's about controlling what you can control, your mindset, your focus, your actions, and the value you create. By adopting this certain way, you are not denying the existence of economic storms, but you are building a much stronger, more resilient, and more seaworthy ship to navigate them. You are positioning yourself to find opportunities even in challenging times. Let's consider two people facing a recession. One, operating from a competitive, scarcity mindset, panics. They slash their prices to the bone, hoard their cash, and see only doom and gloom. The other, operating from a creative, abundance mindset, sees the recession as a shift in the market. They ask, what new problems have been created? What new needs have emerged? Perhaps they pivot their business to offer a more affordable, essential service, or they use the downturn to acquire skills for the inevitable recovery. The person following the science of getting rich is actively looking for ways to create value and convey increase, even when resources are tight. They are playing a different game. They are focused on building, on creating, on adding value, which is the only sustainable path to wealth in any economic climate. The science in the title is not the hard science of physics or chemistry. It's science in the sense of a repeatable process, a system. If you consistently apply these principles, if you combine a specific way of thinking with a specific way of acting, you will reliably produce a result. The formula is surprisingly simple, yet challenging to execute. Clear vision plus gratitude plus a creative focus, multiplied by consistent, efficient, value-adding action. So, is the science of getting rich a relic of a bygone era? Or is it a timeless manual for personal economic empowerment? Just dressed in the language of its time? I would strongly argue for the latter. When you strip away the metaphysical language, you find a remarkably robust and practical guide to creating value. It teaches you to see the world not as a fixed pie to be fought over, but as a vast field of potential waiting for a creative mind and a determined hand to bring forth new abundance. It ultimately argues that getting rich is not a matter of luck, environment, or even specific talent in a particular business. It is a matter of thinking and, most importantly, acting in a certain way. It's a way that aligns your mental faculties with the universal economic law that sustainable wealth comes from creating more value than you take. And that's a lesson as profoundly true today as it was in 1910.